System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Monday, January 12th. I am Amin TMK alongside Amoja, Lil Tanky, Sumler, and the ghost in the shell, Keita the Muscle. Amoja, how are you? Muscle, how are you? Hello, happy, well, again, not a happy new year, but greetings to the new year. How are we all doing today?
Oh, man, I'm good. I guess we're back in the middle peacetime. It's kind of peacetime, but it's not peacetime. But we did have an Orishnik, though. So we Inner City Left been telling you they was on the way. And the next one's coming even faster.
An auspicious 11 days into one of the New Years that I celebrate. Because, you know, there's going to be Lunar New Year later and then Rosh Hashanah. So.
And we missed Russian Orthodox Christmas. So Merry Christmas to the Russian Orthodox who celebrate it a little bit later than the traditional Western Christianity is.
I remember when the Ukrainians used to celebrate then, too. Now they have the more traditional
almost like
American Christmas time.
American, yeah. It's almost like the special military operation was there to support those who didn't adhere to the Western rules of religion, including Western Christianity. But I digress. Excuse me. Happy to have the gang back. Lots to talk about today. I want to show this because we, of course, know one of the biggest stories in the world, if not the biggest, was the abduction of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. He is now being held, guys, in New York. In New York, where there's a bastion of liberalism and leftist thought. I didn't know if you guys knew that at all. But I'm going to...
He should be perfectly safe.
He should be perfectly safe, everyone. But let's take a look at some charges. Let's take a look at the charges going on here with Nicolas Maduro. So this is from Pam Bondi, all right? Attorney General. I'm going to go ahead and read this out for everyone. Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. Nicolas Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. I'm not going to continue to read. If you're on YouTube, you can check it out before our podcast listens and anyone else. It's just so funny because isn't it all supposed to be about like objectivity? Like, it's just interesting to me when the attorney general, who continues to go on, this person will face the full wrath of the American justice on American soil in American courts. You know, again, you're supposed to be a biased observer here. So anyway, these are some of the charges. To me, no pun intended, sounds like some trumped up charges, if I do say so myself. What were you about to say,
One thing
Tanky?
that I see is clearly missing is human rights violations. I don't see that anywhere in there. Like, we don't even have like a weaker story here, right? Like, oh, he's killing the blah, blah, blah.
Good point.
They always throw that in for flavor. So they know that this jolly man that be dancing in the streets and the videos is ludicrous as everything that they've named. The fact that they're not even trying for that should tell you this dude was a teddy bear, bro. He was a freaking teddy bear.
Yeah,
Machine
that's
guns,
a fact.
You're literally
that sounds like
this
this
man
hilarious.
His head of state had
7-year-olds
machine guns?
do this.
Right.
He had machine guns and destructive devices. What does that got to do with you? When did he use a machine gun against the United States? I mean,
in the United States? Has he used any of these weapons in the United States?
Again, trumped up charges.
Did he ask
one knows
like
it.
the soldiers, like, hey, bro, let me catch that M4. Yeah, we're turning this shit around right now. Like, I mean, where's the conspiracy part? That's hilarious to me. Like, conspiracy. And I thought they dropped the narco-terrorism because they've already acknowledged that the Cartel of the Suns is essentially just some
those
bullshit.
were the original charges. Now they may have changed. They may have changed, and I think also it's important to acknowledge that this is not really about charges. This is a political trial, and in many ways, a kangaroo court. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if there's an alternative to that, but obviously this is not real. I want to play this for you guys. This is Marco Rubio. We have coined the term Marco terrorist, like they always want to put narco terrorist, but Marco terrorist because Marco Rubio is a terrorist. Anyway, I think you get it. Let's just take a listen here.
And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why.
Fake reporting.
It says that Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury. The grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about a year and a half ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. Number one, there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
What are your thoughts on that, Muscle?
That's just straight clown shit. So first off, as the joke goes, you can indict a ham sandwich. Once again, it's not only does the UN not know what they're talking about, apparently the DEA doesn't know what they're talking about either, whereas Venezuela doesn't even exist on the American top 10 list of countries in the world that are trafficking cocaine or any illicit drugs to the Americans. That's all I got on that. I'm not giving Marco Rubio no additional fucking time.
No, totally. I mean, and we talked about this too with Europe and how they literally were about to make up laws so that they could steal Russia's money. And that's what all of this is, especially because even calling it the term narco terrorists for Maduro and how they primed us after September 11th to really react to terrorism in a very specific way. And it's just part of the propaganda machine here in the United States, making a farce out of any laws, rules, regulations, even just plain good old community agreements. The United States will break them, make up whatever the cool phrases that they primed people to react to rather than really critically think through. And this is just another example of it. It's all meaningless. So they've already determined, and we've already determined, honestly, on a global scale, how meaningless and useless the UN is.
Yeah, great points. And I think also, let's acknowledge that we are still dealing with the Holocaust in Palestine right now, which should let everyone know. International law is irrelevant. It's never truly been relevant. And, we had a broadcast about, mask off. That's what Trump does. He just takes the mask off of the imperial powers of the United States. We're already kind of experiencing what we're experiencing. In Greenland's dealing with this now. You have, Iran and the color revolutions everywhere. But I want to talk about this because if there's no rules, if there is no, particular charges that are really relevant to Maduro, who is going to be the jury? Now, I was thinking about this. I can give you guys my list, but I know we said we do a draft, so we don't have anything, any crossover. But I will go first. Tanky, you can go second, and then Muscle will go third. And we'll just round robin. And I want to know who you got for your jury to get Nicolas Maduro. And I'm going to start with a real thespian. Modern man, a man of our time. Playwright, singer, rapper, activist. Lin-Manuel Miranda, everybody. I'm just going to give him a round of applause. He is going to be the first person on my list for that jury. He made sure to let you know Puerto Rico needed to be a part of America. The imperial neo-colonial aspects of America was going to help out Puerto Rico, and now they are a military base. And if any Latino man deserves to be on that jury to tear down a true socialist of South America, well, God damn it, I'm putting Lin-Manuel Miranda as my number one draft pick. Tanky.
Okay, all right. I believe that we have to have some representation. You know, once again, you showing that you a slave to the patriarchy, coming with that. So I'm gonna bring some woman energy to this jury. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and draft Juliana Pena. You know what I'm saying? You know her, you love her. 135-pound ex UFC champion, the Venezuelan vixen herself, close personal friend of the President Trump, millionaire who's lived in Chicago most of her adult life, probably hasn't even been in Venezuela in 20, 30 years. I'm going to listen to Venezuelans, man, and I'm going to listen to women, man. I'm going to listen to a millionaire, celebrity, close personal friend of Trump. She's a Venezuelan. You didn't even pick a Venezuelan, and you definitely didn't pick a woman. Piece of shit.
And then my pick is more realistic on what actually happens on juries. And so, like, let's give it out to Darren Woods, ExxonMobil CEO, who's been very upset about the billions in what he calls damages when Venezuela nationalized its oils in the 70s and the late 2000s.
That's well done. That's well done. I'm going to keep this thing going. This is my second pick. I still think you was talking a lot of trash, Tanky, about me being an adherent to the patriarchy. And I'm going to flip that on my head. I support women. And that's why my second pick on this jury, I'm going with Ann Coulter, everybody. Ann Coulter, this has been one of the number one racists in the game. Sat there with Vivek Ramaswamy and was like, look here, Indian brown man, I'm not going to vote for you because you're brown. And he was like, oh, okay. A true, honest face of racism, of xenophobia all around the world. And again, you don't want to put, it's like you guys don't want to put white people on here. You got to get a real blonde woman, a true representation of feminism in society. I'm going with Ann Coulter. Thank you. Who's your second pick? You're muted.
I'm seeing already y'all want to hate. Y'all don't want a fair jury, man. Y'all are putting people that you know are very conservative, that don't like to see progressive people do good. So to get some real progressive energy on this jury, I'm going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and draft Rachel Maddow right now. You know what I'm saying? Off the top rope. Rachel Maddow.
World class.
A voice of clarity, progressivism.
No, I absolutely agree. We got the blonde, Ann Coulter, and now, from the right. And now we're going to get the butch stylings of MSNBC's number one propagandist. Well done. We're evening it out here. Lots of good representation. Muscle, do you have any picks for your second round?
Well, yeah, I do. And it would be Christopher Murphy, Connecticut senator who can't decide whether Trump should have invaded and ousted Maduro sooner, but who was now saying like, I don't know what you're doing. And this is illegal. Why didn't you ask Congress to do it before you did it? Congress would have said yes, because they would have.
Yeah, they love to be like, I agree with everything Donald Trump said, but not unlike the way he did it. It's like, weren't you guys supposed to stop him from doing this? Anyway, the Democrats are ridiculous. Bernie Sanders just came out and he was like, America, Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. And his millions of Venezuelans suffering
but
under this dictator.
Trump is
Trump is a literally Hitler, but I have to resonate with him when it comes to Maduro, everybody. I mean, look, he's a drug dealer, all right? A massive drug Kingpin. And it's time for Americans to think about him with the millionaires and billionaires, which I am. Anyway, that was Bernie, everybody, for the podcast listeners. Bernie was on for
Oh, Bernie's on the jury? I like that.
No, Bernie's not on my jury. Absolutely not. I'm not putting no more white men on my jury, okay, you racist. You just want to fill it up. So I'm going to go. You know, we've talked a lot. I got my pick right here. It's my number 3 here. You went, of course, with your UFC pick. I'm going to go with my UFC pick. Mr. Super Necessary, Gusano in Chief. Don't come to Miami without giving this man a ring, and that is Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. That's correct. He is going to be my Gusano representation. Cubans supporting Trump, and I think he's going to be a great addition. And I'm going to send, hopefully, we can also send him out into Venezuela so he can put in some work for the United States, actually. Tanky, do you have any more picks? Let's do
I'm gonna keep
maybe
it in Miami.
two more rounds.
I'm gonna keep it in Miami.
To Miami.
And go with, you know him, you love him, Juan Guaido, who's completely...
How did he fall to the third round? How? A real steal.
Yeah, you know that he is completely 100% neutral as far as this goes. He's probably an American citizen at this point. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Juan Guaido on the jury.
Professor of democracy in college in Florida, by the way. Muscle, we got 2 more picks. Do you have anything for us for your next pick?
Yes. My next pick, we must understand, we've been thinking about the law very narrowly, but the fact is corporations are people too, and they deserve a stake in this. And so I am presenting Elliott Investment Management, hedge fund, because a hedge fund that attempted to take over Citgo Petroleum, which is a subsidiary of Venezuela's state oil company. And they got some backing by the judges. They definitely slipped something to judges, and they're going to be on that jury.
I mean, look, corporations are people too. They deserve a voice. They deserve to be heard. They have rights. Unlike the Venezuelans, corporations have rights. This is going to be my final pick. I got a lot of good people over here. I was thinking maybe Mario Lopez, he could be a great addition. Again, another thespian Latino representation. I was thinking also maybe going President Nayib Bukele. Bukele obviously has a lot he's working on, a lot he's doing right now. We're not going to be able to make it. But, I heard somebody's been slashing jobs. Somebody just got a cash infusion. And look, they deserve a little bit of a vacation, all right? And that is going to be my final pick, Javier Milei, everybody. Stepping in there. Evil Bilbo is back on the scene, putting in work. It's a new adventure. So Javier Chainsaw Milei will be my final pick. Tanky, lots of good options on the board.
Once again, I'm listening to the women in the chat, you know what I'm saying? And I think corporations are people too. You're right, Keita. Let's go ahead. Let's get Larry Ellison, the former Secretary of State under Trump, under his first administration, but more importantly, ex-CEO of ExxonMobil. Again, totally neutral. He hates Trump. Everyone knows Larry Ellison hates Trump. So I think we can count on him being a fair and just representative. And these are the people I would have in my Nicolas Maduro, totally fair, totally by the book jury.
Dude, we didn't have a billionaire on there. We had corporations, but not a billionaire. That's to let you know how far we've fallen. We only had 1 billionaire on there. Final pick in the draft always can still be a contributor, the final member of this jury. Muscle, do you have a final pick for us?
Yes. Yes, because nothing is real. Let's also acknowledge that there are still more corporations that representation on here. And it is the classic. We all know them. They have been making truly bank across the globe with all of these wars, war on terrorism, the war on drugs, the war literally taking place in Ukraine. And it's the classic Lockheed Martin.
You went with the veteran.
There it
the
is.
OG in the game. And I understand.
Should we do an
veteran
alternate
presence
each? One alternate each?
Yeah. What do you got? What do you got still on your list there?
Okay. As an alternate, we know that she's been in legal correspondence school for like 10 years. The original Legally Blonde herself, Kim Kardashian, man. Great little alternate. If one of those people, get blinked out, on a challenge, we slide Kim right in. I'm trying to think about the ratings of this trial. Y'all only thinking about justice.
Muscle, you got one. I got one, but I want to save it for last because it's gonna move on to our next segment.
Oh, Kamala Harris, hard on drugs. Hard on
She know
drugs.
about the modalities.
Okay, and knows about the modalities and the nuances of the country. Always stays on the talking points. Yeah, that was my alternate.
My final alternate, y'all, and I'm moving on to the next one. This is one of the most accomplished writers of our time, okay? One of the most prolific writers and thought influencers in the world. I want you to give some love to J.K. Rowling, everybody.
Yo, J.K. was on my list too. I'm dying, bro. I'm fucking dying.
We got her, guys. Not gonna be no trans women on here. Absolutely not. It's not, because look, y'all. Yeah, no, that's right. We getting into it. This person right here loves some POCs, y'all. And this is J.K. Rowling right here. If you claim to support human rights, yet can't bring yourself to show solidarity with those fighting for their liberty in Iran, you revealed yourself. You don't give a damn about people being oppressed and brutalized so long as it's being done by the enemies of your enemies. There's a beautiful picture of a woman who is burning a photo of the so-called supreme leader Khomeini as she's unbothered smoking a cigarette. Now, of course, we know this photo that J.K. Rowling is putting up here is from 2002. This is a Canadian woman.
Oh,
but, they decided
listen to Iranian women that don't live in Iran.
Yeah. Yes. Listen, look, they weren't born in Iran and they never been to Iran. None of their family is from Iran, but in their heart, they are Iranian. Let's not forget about all of those Israelis, those tried and true Israelis that have been living in the Levant for 3,000 years, except those 2,975 years in Philadelphia or Poland or New York or.
Oh, I thought you meant the ones that have been living in Iran, because they have been there for like 2,000 years. Hey, I do have a question. How did we reveal ourselves? Was it like Neo? Like, did we have like a trench coat and we're like, and we had like all the Matrix weapons? Like, how did you? That's how I revealed myself.
Yeah, I don't know how we've been revealed. I don't get how it works.
Did they have a Palantir like Lord of the Rings?
As you know, J.K. Rowling is an expert in magic. So that's what you mean. It's a Vinicanum. And they do a little thing, and then it's been revealed. It's been revealed. But I'm a Gryffindor, so I don't know. Thoughts on this? Muscle? Feelings?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's keep talking about it, because all the fun and games, and again, is not. I'm not trying to be happy. There's no happiness in this world. But
fuck J.K. Rowling. Fuck everybody on the jury that we announced.
You know what? Wait. I do want to say this. No matter how you feel about the Ayatollah Khomeini, I don't have a thought. I'm Jewish, you know, but I do respect the fact that this man is a religious head. He is the head. Like, I just think that's tacky. Like, I wouldn't burn a picture of the Pope, and I don't think very highly of like the Vatican and their history of misadventures. I don't even need to get into everything that we could talk about the Vatican is probably guilty of. I just personally think it would be fucking tacky to burn a picture of the Pope. You know, why incense these people that believe these religious things? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't burn a picture of the Dalai Lama, even though I think everybody knows how I feel about the Dalai Lama. You know, one of the world's last great slave owners. You know what I'm saying? I personally wouldn't do that. I just think it's tacky because it's a religious leader. And once again, right, this is what we see Western feminism doing, right? Like making attacks on people's spiritual and religious beliefs and claiming it under the guise of freedom. I just think it's tacky and it's rude.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. And again, it's this idea that there is no feminist movement with Iranian women, that they are incapable of pursuing their brand of feminism in their countries. This goes to the LGBTQ movements that are also in countries in the Arab world. These conversations are being had in these communities. And, you know, I think it's good just to remind you that white supremacy is a huge, not to remind you guys, but just our listeners, you know, that it is a core central part of this brand of J.K. Rowling feminism.
About these cultures. They don't know anything. 91% of women in Iran have literacy. 79% of the STEM graduates in the last 3 years are women. Like, I think they're doing better than American women, truth being told.
They think it's the same in Iran as it is in Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. They don't understand that this is a different country, man. I mean, I'll leave it at this before I move on. We heard this about Hamas, that they are a bunch of, you know, raping savages. They're cutting people's breasts off and throwing them in the street, when in reality, it is the IDF that uses rape on both male, women, children. Doesn't matter to them. They use rape as a tool of war, and that is often used as a tool of war, which is why we are anti-war. Yeah, I want to show this to you guys. This is our friend, Ben Norton. Good dude. He says the U.S. government is openly supporting violent riots in Iran, seeking to destabilize and even overthrow the independent government of Iran, which Trump threatened to bomb again. The Israeli media admitted that Israel is using fake accounts to spread AI disinformation about Iran. If you're on YouTube, you can see some of the articles here. I think we remember to continue to bring up Palestine, which we should continue to do that. Let's go back to Joe Biden, since some people are saying that we're like somehow pro Joe Biden, which we couldn't be further from. This man was talking about bodies had been seen. He talked about babies having their heads cut off. And we, again, just a hypotenuse. I think AI images were shown to him. And again, because of the early stages of AI and the cognitive decline Joe Biden had,
stages of
he
dementia.
believed them. Yeah, and whatever. Of course, I mean, Trump is showing this as well. So again, AI images and AI in general, we know the older generations are more susceptible to this. So this is continuing to happen. Thoughts, Tanky or Muscle, on this, and just sort of, either about AI or Iran or both.
I'll say quickly, it takes a lot of technological savvy nowadays to know the difference between what is real and what is not real. Like, they talked about 15 years ago, how they were advancing the theory of deep fakes. You know what I'm saying? Things that are not real but look real. You know, when I'm watching battle analysis for different conflicts around the world, one of the things that the geolocators will do is they'll take the geotags in these photos because AI cannot fake a geotag. But this is something that they know how to do because they're savvy. You know what I'm saying? This isn't part of, these are embedded in the data behind all of these photos because all of this stuff is digital now, right? This is not something I expect an 80-year-old man to do. No offense. And of course, there are some 80-year-old men that can do this, but I promise you, they are the exceptions and not the rule. I don't think a 80-plus-year-old man suffering, let's be honest, early onset dementia, probably not even that early because it looks quite advanced by this point, who doesn't know that much about, even probably Photoshop, and you show him something incredibly grotesque, it's the instinct to look away. Look, I'm giving Biden the most gracious read possible, and that's something I don't do because I loathe Biden. Let me be quite honest, I loathe Biden. I see very little difference between Biden and Trump. So there you go. I don't like or dislike politicians as a rule, but I do dislike men. And as a man, Biden is a horrible man for several reasons. So let's just get that out there. But I can also have empathy for a person that probably isn't clever enough to know what's real and what's not real. Especially when it is your desire to want to believe what, confirmation bias. You wouldn't want to believe that Israel is lying, right? And so that already makes you more inclined to believe the things that they tell you. I remember early on in the first couple of weeks of the conflict, the post October 7th conflict, where the missiles hit the hospital. And, Biden's like, well, those guys told us the other team did it, right? Again, assuming, right, he's not even lying about this, which is quite an assumption. I assume that at the very least, members of his administration were coordinating these things from the very beginning with the Israelis. That's consistent with the way that they work. I mean, there is a military alliance called the Five Eyes, and they share information, they share data, they share training techniques, right? And Israel is one of those countries in Five Eyes, just like the United States, just like Canada, Britain, and France. I believe that's the Five Eyes alliance, right? This is something that supersedes NATO even, because Israel is technically not a member of NATO, which is why it's always interesting watching this conflict begin between Israel and Turkey, right? Which is something else people need to keep an eye on, because there's a lot of chatter that Turkey was involved helping Iran fend off these attacks that have been coordinated by Israel in the West over the past couple of days. I'm not going to even give it the strength of pretending for half a second these are organic protests, not when the Americans are outright saying we are looking for regime change. And I think liberals spend far too much time playing useful idiots to the government. Oh, I'm not for Trump, but we have to acknowledge that Ayatollah is bad. That's for the Iranians to work out amongst themselves. Any freedom movement that wants to pop up organically around the world, I'm all for that. But the moment when your revolution is funded by the West and you find yourself having the same talking points as people in the West, you might need to look at your talking points, because you might have been propagandized. And America, no offense, but America has the best propaganda in the world. And AI, man, AI is very deceptive to those who do not have a trained eye and know what to look for. And I don't think Joe Biden would have any clue as to what to look for to differentiate what is real and what is not real. And he wanted to believe what he was told.
Muscle, thoughts?
Yeah. So, okay. Because this is also about AI, which is a conversation that frustrates me frequently. And Tanky touched on it too. We didn't need AI in order to lie to presidents. That's been happening since the inception of certain organizations and federal agencies and how they've been established as part of the American empire and its machinations of war across the globe. But how AI has exacerbated, particularly under the structures of capitalism, which demands our time every second, like doesn't want us to own a single second to ourselves. And how we're all guilty of it, where we're trying to believe a certain thing. Some of it will be built off of propaganda, some of it will be influenced by our own personal lives and the things and the people that we encounter in our lives. But always at the cornerstone of when I was pursuing a degree in journalism was follow the money. Who is profiting from this? Who is benefiting from this? And we can see this in Venezuela, Iran, even in Israel, and the establishment of colonies across the globe. Even when we're hearing about threats of Greenland and Canada and what international law means. But who actually gets to benefit from a lot of what's happening around here? And in following some of that money too, like Starlink recently, I feel like 3 or 5 days ago, got approval from the FCC to launch 7,500 more satellites. And some of it, maybe I always allow for the possibility in the universe that I am making connections that don't exist. But I think it is curious that the moment there's all of these reports of Iranian protests and violence, and suddenly the internet goes down, Starlink's supposed to be insurmountable or unsurpassed in keeping live internet streams. But then suddenly it goes down, they get a lot of money to launch it. And coupled with the fact that how egregious and ridiculous it is that Starlink is about to own, I feel like 50% of the satellites that are in orbit at this time, and who also might benefit from that. And so, yeah, this is just like one more thing that the United States benefits from the destabilization of a region. Absolutely is going to profit from it. We're seeing these crazy, like oil stocks go up in the United States, AI data center stocks go up, like these, of course, satellite stocks going up. And there's a whole bunch of and I won't even say a whole bunch of people because it is actually an incredibly small subset of the population, but they are profiting and benefiting from this. And the American government and everybody sitting in office just happen to be also the beneficiaries of this destabilization and in ensuring that their international law does not exist only as a frame for them to say, well, this is why I had to invade other countries.
Yeah, I want to touch in on when you were talking about Starlink, and once again, the arrogance of American technology and assuming that there is a technological leap that exists in the West that cannot be crossed by other cultures, right? Which again is white supremacist thinking. Science is science, and most of this stuff is available all around the world. Like, that's the whole point of having journals, right? Science journals. There are Chinese people in these journals. There are Russian people in these journals. There are Iranian people in these journals. A PhD is a PhD. And when you're writing peer-reviewed theory, that stuff is pretty common and pretty easy to get. You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, the chatter that I have heard pretty much suggests that it was the Iranian Guard that turned off access to the internet to see where the signals were still coming from. And most of the signals, as has been reported, right, were being sent from Starlink, right? So it's an op. And at this point, all they had to do was see who was still using the Starlight satellites. And that's what happened. Worse than that, the consistent rumors that are stating, we already know that the Chinese openly said they are here to support Iranian sovereignty in whatever form is needed. That was a statement that was made this week. And the rumor has been that they have been using Chinese jamming tech that has caused up to 80% packet loss from Starlink. So this is bad on a number of levels because, once again, Starlink was always supposed to be the ace in the hole that the Taiwanese had. And if the Chinese are able to block and create 80% packet loss, right, for an area as big as Iran, there's no hope for the Taiwanese region, right? If you're hoping that the Chinese are gonna be able to be thwarted by being able to just use all of the American tech and connecting to Starlink, in the case of a catastrophic communication failure, which the Chinese have already demonstrated the ability to do, you're not going to be able to count on Starlink. And so, this is a huge blow that Musk and the industry that works behind him, especially the intelligence industry, were not expecting. These are the byproducts of continuing to utilize war devices, right? Because what happens now is people collect intel. They learn and are able to test strategies to figure out how to block and circumvent these things, right? We didn't really learn about the weakness of American air defense until it was tested by the Russians with their hypersonics. Now we're learning about the weakness of American satellite communications through blocking technology, through what do you call it? Satellite electronic warfare suites, Chinese electronic warfare suites. Now we're learning that even without destroying Starlink, they're able to disrupt those communications. These are things that the West took for granted. Like, they thought that they would have an insurmountable technological lead that could not be blocked or challenged, right? And this is what it means to go up against near peer adversaries. The things that you take for granted that allow you spectacular success in the world of war, you cannot count on when you're going up against a near peer, because you don't know how much of this stuff they've already game plan nullifying.
I want to read this for you guys. Obviously, we are content creators, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call myself in this world. I don't think it matters. I don't think there's a whole lot of titles and things that you can give, but we are on YouTube. We are trying to get information out there. And this is just more to the point of what we have already discussed. This is a tweet from Giselle Navarro, quoting a Guardian article stating that more than 20% of videos shown to new YouTube users are, quote, AI slop. Study finds low quality AI generated content is now saturating social media and generating about $117 million a year. Something that I've been hearing a lot from the Israeli lobbyists like Hillary Clinton and others keep going back to this. We can't trust social media because bad faith actors are showing information that's not true. However, everyone has pushed this AI bubble, or pushed this AI onto the entire society. And now information, which was already difficult to parse, we do it for a living. We have to decide, is this AI, is this image or AI or not? Most things are now being pushed out. 20% of new videos, it says in this article, pushed out when YouTube said that they were trying to, deplatform AI users or disincentivize AI. But now we see that's changed. Again, it goes back to the idea of deep fakes and what can you believe and what can't you believe. And it doesn't seem as if anyone can deal with the, contradictions that AI brings. Several lawsuits now against AI. We're seeing it utilized in the hiring process. We're seeing it completely implemented within major organizations. However, people who are using AI in a real capacity that just doesn't have to do with generative AI, where you're generating some business proposal or you're asking about, because that mainly seems what generative AI is used in business, screening processes and things like that, that there is no humanity left. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, is anyone seeing this? I don't understand why there hasn't been more pushback. Maybe there has. But yeah, your thoughts, guys. Your thoughts.
I think about that poem from Dylan Thomas, the Cody Garberay, right? Um, where he's like, the villain would never act like that in unreal reality, right? Like that's, I mean, not to be a little lit and all right, but it is what it is. Motherfuckers be reading the shit. That's where we are with this. The fact that there is a such thing as AI psychosis, where people have made this thing literally not their wiki, but their god. Grok, is this true? What does a thing that is not real understand about truth? Like you can barely talk about facts, right? And I don't mean to be pedantic, but there was a difference between truth and facts, right? Facts are observable factoids that can be objectively discussed. Truth is a personal thing that deals with belief. The fact that these AI models are creating garbage, and I've heard a lot about this in mathematics as well, right? The AI math is some shit. Like mathematicians are going back and looking at these theorems that AI are coming up with, and they're totally unreal, right? And they just talk around and create conundrums that are not backed up by actual observable math. The fact that AI is now creating peer-reviewed articles, like, and AI is not an accredited source of information. So how then can they create information, right? And they're just creating these things out of the blue. The AI exists to be the new god of the West. And there's lots of media that has talked about this. This is one of the things that were explored in Westworld to a great degree. And having competing AIs now that have quote unquote self-actualized and determined what the best reality is for many. I mean, let's be honest and look at how incredibly dystopian that is. This is the point literally of so many sci-fi. We have war games. We have Terminator, that entire franchise. We have Dune, iRobot. Like, this is a theme that has been explored ad nauseum. And this is not just like, Luddite theory where you're like, I just reject science. No, AI itself is unscientific, and people are unquestionably accepting these answers as if they are the truth themselves, and they're not.
Muscle, any thoughts?
So many. Okay, I have got to order my thoughts, and hopefully I won't go on too many tangents. We're just going on a ride together. What frustrates me about the conversation about AI is that what we keep calling AI is not intelligent. It will never be intelligent. It is not capable of intelligence because machines are not capable of learning. Like but I had to continue using the term AI because that's the most common terminology and phrasing on this. My second issue with it is that we are treating AI as if it's infallible. Tanky touched on this, that AI is now considered a primary source, even though it literally does not work. It is like a worse search engine, a worse spell check. It significantly destroys all of these existing tools that we have and flattens it. And then third, it's all built off stolen materials. No one across the globe consented. When we were using Facebook at the time, MySpace, whatever, like who even thinks about what's lingering about our lives on all of these defunct forums and platforms and like logins? But the fact is AI is built off of our stolen data that where somehow by signing up for a Google account, we agreed that Google could use our information however the fuck it wants for into perpetuity and beyond to the heat death of the universe. And yet corporations also have the audacity to say that they own our things, our thoughts, our feelings, our faces, our voices. And because we live in the strictures of capitalism, which is forcing scarcity where it doesn't make sense, which is also forcing behavior change by getting us addicted to the conveniences of modern day life, is that they're going to start charging for it. This AI bubble, and we found this out through the real estate bubble. It's kind of funny how actually periodically capitalism requires some sort of economic bubble to happen, and then it bursts. And oh no, the people should have not have trusted all of the corporations, and yet the corporations are the ones who get the bailout. This is what we're going to see with AI. They're going to make you pay for something that you absolutely should own. I feel this way about the internet. I, of course, feel this way about clean, drinkable water. I feel this way about energy sources. And they are giving it to a machine that they are saying is infallible, and it is not. Humans are much better at anything that generative AI can do because it's built off of us. And then on top of that is trying to de-skill us sufficiently, get you addicted, say that it's everywhere, even though they're forcing it upon us. A lot of people don't even want to use it. But humans are the ones who have to face the consequences of it as well, because AI data centers are drinking all of the clean, drinkable water in the United States, and how they're looking at Venezuela and all of these other countries to build that infrastructure further. It is draining energy sources. How can a household who is literally saying, I recycle, I use sustainable energy sources, I switch to solar power, and yet their electric bills are going so significantly up to pay for AI data centers that people don't use and don't want. And this is where I am seeing success on a local level, because there are communities that are saying, don't build this here. Absolutely not. We're not paying for this. This doesn't belong here. And it's not giving anybody jobs, security, much less like security in the environment in which we live. And it makes this very frustrating. But of course, who makes money from this? Who profits from it? And so we're going to keep seeing AI slop. We're going to keep seeing all of this disgusting amounts of like misinformation. But as I pointed out even earlier, we didn't need AI to have disinformation. We had that with the advent of Photoshop. And it is our job to say, like, be discerning citizens wherever we live, be discerning citizens and say, like, what is real about this? What can I find? And yet our ability to research and like think critically and approach critically what this means is absolutely being eroded. And again, who benefits from us not having these skills, from actively losing these skills over the course of our lives? And what kind of citizens does it make us? Perhaps compliant citizens who just trust what our government tells us? And who does that benefit? Just, some questions for folks to consider.
Yo, and I want to touch in on something that you said, right? Who makes the profit? Well, eventually them, but none of these AI models have made a profit yet at all. It's just money that is going into a black hole on the hopes that it's going to reach self-actualization, that it's going to reach AGI, as they call it, before anyone else. So what's ironic in all of this is everyone, all of these consumers, we're subsidizing their cost. We're all having to pay privately, right, publicly, for their expenses. But these profits, once they achieve profitability, assuming that can be, these are going to be private, right, profits, right? So we are all subsidizing their costs, their bills, but then those benefits are not going to be returned upon the American population. It's not like we're going to get any kind of great discount or Americans are going to become shareholders, right? Like, so again, you're being asked to subsidize all of the expense at literally no gain to the average American, because once they achieve what they hope to achieve, they're going to sell these services to Americans and everyone else.
And on top of that, it's not just we're also subsidizing the cost, it's also we have to pay for a machine's mistakes. Because of the assumption that generative AI does not make mistakes and it's an infallible source, then who do you put behind it? Well, you have human beings behind it who are like, well, instead of being able to do the fun, creative stuff like strategizing and like developing your skills and growing as a human being, the machine gets to do all of that. While meanwhile, you have to look for the machine's mistakes. Not that machines make mistakes, because this machine can never make mistakes. Humans, however, make mistakes. And oh, look, there is a human conveniently there to absolutely take the blame for all of this. And that is also a point of frustration, because humans are better than machines at it. But, it has benefited the United States for a very long time to obfuscate history, to absolutely and utterly rewrite history as it pleases and make meaningless all of the things that we say are here for a functioning society. And because we are not in a functioning society, we cannot see any tool as beneficial to human existence because we are a globalized, we're global citizens. We are so connected in a way that we have not been on this scale, seeing things that we have not been able to see or encounter. And there's so many beautiful things that we can learn, except we have to deal with the machinations of the Western Empire and the way that it absolutely says, you know what'll make us more money? Oh, absolutely destroying humanity. And we're just like, yeah, sure, that makes total fucking sense.
Well, because all of the billionaires have their doom bunkers, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, this is one of the prevailing themes. When people say, like, I don't understand why America would risk, nuclear war with Russia and China, and there's a prevailing theory that the point is capitalists feel like they'll do better in a world that's no longer an abundance world, which is ironic because they talk about all of this Malthusian, oh, there's too much population, and all of that is really just cheat codes for there's not a large enough European and white American population base, right? But the fact of the matter is, this world is seen as an abundance world. Whereas, if the water then becomes polluted, if the oil is very scarce, if there's only a little bit of food, how do societies like based in socialism, which are about sharing this abundance and making sure everyone can thrive, they cannot exist in these worlds anymore if we're not in an abundance world. Although capitalists still will, because the people that have the means to avoid going without will go without. And so like that is like really dark, but that is one of the prevailing military theories that exist. They're willing to risk the abundance world because they believe in the abundance world, socialism will inherently win. But to make a world of scarcity, true scarcity, then the capitalists, once again, they feel like they will win that conflict.
This is from More Perfect Union. I think positive news. 98 billion in planned AI data center development was derailed in a single quarter last year by community organizing and pushback, according to Data Center Watch. Nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this. No one is interested in this. It's being shoved down the population's throat. It's not effective. It's not useful. Essentially, what's happening is an AI hires you. An AI analyzes what you're supposed to do, and you communicate to another company using AI, and their AI in the other company evaluates what your AI did. This is what business is now. This is what I'm supposed to be watching. Artists are now supposed to be using AI to do what exactly? I think this is a eroding of, again, we talked about this a lot. I'm an artist. I've been an artist my whole life. Eroding creative thought is a part of this. This is a dystopian future. And AI is perfect brain rot. And we are already witnessing a society that has a difficult time with comprehension, difficult time with attention, capacity. And that is not because people are dumb. It's not because people are lazy. It's because that is what the system has created and forced upon them. We heard about this with social media. The likes and the comments and all those other things hacks into our dopamine. This is all purposeful. And this is why it's important to reject and never say things like, oh, this AI thing is the future, or this is just what it is. Can never be that way. As leftists, people that care about, have principles, for God's sakes, man. Like, it's important to have principles in life. And AI is something that you absolutely have to push back on, not just for the implications on art, but the extreme implications on learning, the creative process, and the environmental impact that AI can that AI creates. Ecological disaster, which is already upon us. War is upon you. Anyway, those are my subjects for today, my slides, my reels. I wanted to give you guys a chance, or just any final thoughts or things we missed. Either one of you guys, Tanky can go first and then Muscle, or the other way around, whatever you guys want.
After you, Tinky.
I mean, I'm just happy that we're gonna have some fairness, in this. We've really done everything we can to ensure a fair and just jury. We'll probably have Tony Blair as the prosecutor, you know what I'm saying? Or Elon Musk, but one way or the other, man, we're gonna get to the bottom of this Maduro thing, and American justice will be served.
Muscle, thoughts?
Yeah,
Final thoughts?
yeah. I mean, final thoughts are, I think it's really easy, particularly from an American mindset, to think like, oh, this is the absolute worst it's ever been. It can't get worse. It will get worse, unfortunately. But that we're not here in
Slavery was worse.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the hype man in the back. That these aren't isolated incidents either. And I think this is where the conversations about why do we talk about domestic politics and geopolitics at the same time, particularly since the United States, given the United States history of colonization, the brutality of the attempted genocide against hundreds of thousands of Native Indigenous people, the enslavement of Black people, that how does all of this get to here? And it's a lot of history. I absolutely fucking recognize that, particularly when you're taking into account the history of the entire globe, but that we can't be alarmist. We have been in situations. There is so much that we can learn from each other, that we can learn from what is happening in protests across the globe, that there are resources they have tried to eliminate, but people are fucking resourceful. And there's just so much, it can be overwhelming, but there are people who are fighting for what they can, making the changes that we can, and you are just as equally capable of that as anybody else.
Well, I'm glad we got the gang back together, and this is our first broadcast of the year. Hopefully we'll have many more as well. I want to give a shout out to our podcast listeners. We're available everywhere you find podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, many, many more. Fables, Foibles, Other American Sins, Amoja's Poetry of Book of Poetry. Well, been a long episode, and I'm full of coffee right now. Also, patreon.com/InnerCityLeft. What a wonderful and beautiful community that we have there. A lot of good conversations, intense conversations, but love and respect as always. Amin Team K, wherever you find music. Lil Tanky, wherever you find music. And, leave us a like or something. Comment if you want. We get a lot of troll comments. The hate is real. I would hate on me too. They hated on Jesus. So, I don't know what to say.
Not Jeebus. Did they hate on Jeebus? They hated on Jeebus, man. We ain't got no chance.
And when I step through in the room and I change the gravity and I have an answer for all of these silly propagandist points, they don't like that. They're not into that. But still I rise. And yeah, thankful for you both. I know I already asked final thoughts, but anything we missed, any parting words, parting messages for the people, Tanky and Muscle?
Oh, man, I just want to give some love to both of my compatriots right here. Always a ton of fun to have Keita the Muscle up in this bitch. So let me get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, great parting words. I love you.
For Amoja, Lil Tanky, Sumler, the Muscle, I'm Amin Team K. This is the Inner City Love broadcast. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' in the city, love.